I am going to be sharing with you the 5-step framework to create a content strategy as a coach that your audience actually pays attention to and gives you marketing that works. You don't have time for a long intro, so I'll tell you who I am in 10 seconds. I'm Isabella, and I'm the CEO of Leaders with a Message. I built a 7-figure business with a tiny audience online, and together with my sister Camila, who's a psychologist and a coach as well, we created Leaders with a Message, where we turn life coaches into global leaders by clarifying their message and creating marketing that works. What you're gonna learn is a strategy to create demand for your offers without having to sell every single second, and also to create urgency and desire for what you're selling without having to use persuasion. Before we get started with the 5 steps, I'm gonna tell you 3 things. 2 things that life coaches do really, really well, and 1 thing that they often miss that makes everything else not work. Most life coaches really understand what coaching is and what it actually means to be a coach. So they're usually very focused on developing their skills and getting really good at the skill of coaching. At the end of the day, they do understand that not everyone can just be a coach just because the barrier of entry to the industry is so low. 2 is that they have this massive passion for helping other people, and those 2 things usually cloud their vision when it comes to marketing. So they end up with completely unclear message and ineffective marketing, and even when they're given the best content strategies, they're not effective. I'm not just going to give you a strategy telling you what to post and where. That's the reason why usually content strategies don't work for you. What I will do is give you the strategy, but also help you clarify your message, at least get you started. So when you actually execute what I'm about to tell you, because I will tell you exactly what to do, then it actually works. So step number 1 is to get really clear on the who. Who is this offer for? You might be thinking, well, I like working with everyone. The thing is that we need to get strategic. And what we're gonna do here is give you some insights and shifts and tweaks so you can implement and get the leverage so you can actually see some sort of results and momentum so you can eventually get to a place where you can coach anyone that you want to coach or help anyone that you want to help. If you are basically trying to cover every single life problem for every single type of person, if you don't have at least one offer with consistent demand where you cannot physically, or your team, if you already have a team, can realistically take on more clients without the results or the experience suffering, then that's enough demand. But if you don't have that and you don't even know like where your next client is going to come from or how to make this thing consistent, then you need somewhere to start. So one thing that a mentor told me once that really stuck to me is that where you start is not going to be where you end up. The decisions that you are making here and now to make your messaging clear and your marketing effective are going to help you grow your business, see the momentum that you need, and then you can make decisions to start expanding. But basically, what I'm trying to say is that you can't really scale something when there's nothing to scale. So just keep that in mind as I take you through the steps, because it's very easy to disregard this information and then continue to use vague marketing and content that doesn't get you any traction, and then come back to this video in like a year with the same problem. I want you to be here next year, but I don't want you to have the same problem. Okay, so back at the who. Let's say that who you want to have buy your offer is Stacy. We're gonna call her Stacy, and she is a 30-year-old woman who on paper seems to have everything figured out. She has a great career. She has great friends. If you were to look at her on social media, she is doing pretty well. And that's gonna be a great type of client for life coaching, as opposed to getting someone who would be better served with a therapist in that specific moment. So how do we create a content strategy that makes Stacy not ignore us? What we need to do is speak to Stacy's life's problems. Well, Isabella, but I already know that every marketing coach and course and whatever that I've ever done or listened to says the exact same thing. How is it different for life coaches? Well, let me clarify this. Especially if you are a life coach or you sell something that's a little bit more intangible or an internal transformation, we must understand the difference between a problem and a perceived problem, specifically for life coaching prospects. If you are a different type of entrepreneur or coach, this applies to you as well. But for life coaches or any service provider selling an internal transformation, this is going to be extra important to pay attention to. So Stacy's perceived problems are the symptoms that she's experiencing from the moment that she wakes up to the moment that she goes to bed. So what she perceives to be a problem are going to be the problems that are relevant to us, because the reality is that no coach is entitled, or no entrepreneur doing marketing online is entitled to their audience's attention. So if we really care about getting Stacy's attention and helping her, we need to speak to the problems that she deems important. Now, that doesn't mean you need to sacrifice your values. I'm going to show you exactly what to do in this case and how to link the two together. So in this case, Stacy's perceived problems, the symptoms she's experiencing, are the problems that we need to speak to. Because you've been through your own transformation and you help people with what the actual problems are, you're like, girl, I just want to help you solve the problems that are actual problems so you can actually change your life. But even if Stacy knows that, let's say, people pleasing or self-sabotage or even self-esteem are the thing that she would need to solve, the actual symptom is what in her life shows up as a problem. Stacy's perceived problems that are keeping her up at night might include things like she is attracting and getting in relationships with men that don't value her, engaging in binge drinking socially or just drinking a lot on the weekends and then feeling bad about it physically and emotionally, and excessive shopping and emotional spending. Let's say she is spending around like $200 to $300 in Zara every single Friday when she doesn't actually want to. And of course, then there's internal problems that she's experiencing. She might be aware that she's constantly looking for validation from partners, like romantic partners, people that she's dating or in relationships with. She might be experiencing a lot of jealousy or comparison to her friends that are getting married and in what seem to be perfect relationships. And she also just feels exhausted and extremely overwhelmed and doesn't have enough time or energy to pursue the things that she actually wants to be doing. So what I want you to do is to clarify who is your Stacy, and then just list out all of the external tangible symptoms that are manifestations of the problems that you as a life coach usually solve in your coaching or coaching program. Number 2, we need to identify which of these perceived problems are going to be the vehicle for transformation. Seeing my ideal clients' perceived problems as the vehicle for their transformation allowed me to clarify my message as a life coach and go from having 30,000 subscribers on my Spanish YouTube channel 7 years ago and making no sales to then a couple of years later with a tiny audience on social media be able to build a 6-figure and then 7-figure coaching business. In order for Stacy to see value in transformation, she needs to know that this result will be achieved. So we need to find a vehicle to attach to your life coaching offers to make the goals and the transformation objectively achievable. Note that I'm not saying you will become a dating coach or a relationship coach or whatever coach. What I'm saying is that we're going to utilize one of Stacy's problems as a vehicle to make the value obvious for her, and then the content just be so easy for you, and then she's going to see the value and buy your offer, and the strategy is going to work. Cool, cool. What we'll do is we're going to pick one of Stacy's perceived problems, the one that you like the most, and most importantly, the one that is the most prevalent to her at this time. Let's say that we're gonna use the pattern of attracting and getting into relationships with the wrong men as the problem that's going to become our vehicle for transformation. So we're gonna move on to number 3, which is defining your process. Now, you know who Stacy is, and then you know what's going to be out of all of the problems that she's experiencing right now in life, which of those will be the one that we're gonna focus on. So I want you to go through a mental exercise, or you can pull up your journal and write down all of the things that you can think of if you were actually going to start working with Stacy today, and her number 1 goal was to break this pattern of attracting and getting into relationships with men that don't value her. And you might be like, oh, I don't know. Just give me the benefit of the doubt here and actually write down, how would you help someone do that as a life coach? Again, note that I'm not saying you need to become a dating coach. You're not gonna go and tell them to go on dating apps and do X, Y, and Z and go to a bar. Maybe you could if you want to, but the process is going to look something like this. And it's all gonna be based on your expertise, the expertise that you already have. So maybe first she gets clear on what she wants out of a relationship. Then she has to dive into her subconscious mind and figure out what are the actual blocks getting in the way. Like, why is she attracting these men and why is she allowing them to enter her life? Then you need to rewire those limiting beliefs and subconscious beliefs and install new ones, basically change your mindset. And then go out, live her life, and then work through all of the fears and things that come up. It's probably going to look something like that. Because again, this is a life coaching program. You're not Hitch. And I think that's one of the biggest fears life coaches experience when they start realizing that they need clear messaging in marketing and content for them to grow their business, is that they think they need to become something they're not. And it's really important for us that you understand that you absolutely don't need to do that. Now, once you have your list of all of the different steps or things that Stacy would need to do to achieve this new state of being and completely transform her life, we're just gonna simplify this entire list of steps or things to achieve into 3 to 4 or 5 content pillars. We're literally going to take your process of the offer that you're selling, using the vehicle of transformation that you've chosen for this offer. This doesn't have to be forever, and we're gonna turn them into content pillars. I'm just gonna uber simplify it for the sake of this example. That can look like defining what you want out of your relationships, changing your mindset, and creating an action plan, and living your life embodiment, something like that. I'm gonna write them down here. And those are your content pillars. That's the way how you're going to be creating demand for your offer without having to sell all the time, and creating messaging and content that does not get ignored anymore. What you'll end up with is 3 to 5 content pillars. Go through each one and just write all of the headlines that you can think of the different types of content, connection, storytelling, perspective shift, and education for each of the pillars. And then for all of that content, do 10 to 20% storytelling content, 20% perspective shift content, 10 to 20% connection content, and then around 40 to 50% educational content. By structuring your content strategy around these pillars, you're going to create demand for your offers, actually get the attention of the people that you want to work with, and convert them a lot easier. And your marketing will stop feeling like you're convincing people to buy from you, because nobody wants to feel like that when I know what you want is to actually help people. Clear messaging leads to clear content, leads to clear marketing, leads to growing business. If you enjoyed this video and want to hang out with me more, make sure to hit the subscribe button for weekly videos to clarify your message and create content and marketing that actually works. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.